goddamn what nobody say. They tell you something different, they lie.
Associated with that. Right. That ain't in my best interest. Right. Well, if that's the take on it, I have no choice but to separate myself, you know, just due to what's best for me and mine.
The name Alfamega used to echo through the streets like a war cry. Standing tall at 6'4", built like a tank and carrying the kind of scars that told stories of real battles. He wasn't just another rapper. He was the enforcer, the hype man, and the right-hand muscle for one of hip-hop's biggest icons, T.I. He was seconds away from carving out his own lane in the game, ready to make history his way. But just when things were about to explode, everything crumbled. One day, he was part of the Grand Hustle family, and the next, gone.
I don't work for no DEA.
Have you ever?
I never worked for the DEA.
Okay.
I had a gun charge. That's an ATF charge.
Okay.
I don't work for the DEA. I dibbled and dabbed and selling drugs when I was young.
Rumors started flying, papers popped up, and before anyone could blink, he was branded a snitch. Just like that, his entire momentum vanished, his come-up shattered overnight. Let's rewind it back. Cedric Zellers wasn't just from Atlanta. He was Techwood, born and bred. Those projects carried heavy history, built way back in the 1930s as America's first public housing. But by the time Zellers came into the world on June 2, 1972, that old pride had turned to pain. What once stood as a landmark had now become a battlefield. Techwood wasn't just tough, it was raw survival. Zellers once described it as a world of predator and prey, a city trapped inside another city. The police, known back then as the Red Dogs, patrolled like an army, running through the blocks like they owned them. Violence didn't just touch his life, it shaped it before he could even spell the word. At just 3 years old, Zellers saw his father beat his mother so brutally that her teeth were knocked out, a memory no child should ever carry. That kind of pain builds a different type of man.
Nobody, I ain't no snitch, I don't work for the DEA, none of that. They use my loyalty against me. And that's how I feel is happening right here. With this thing with me and the tip, you know what I'm saying?
By 9, he was already testing the streets. It started small, stealing boxes of Twinkies and selling them to neighbors for a few bucks. But in the projects, no hustle stays small for long. You either level up or get crushed trying. Then came the late 80s, when crack hit Atlanta like a storm, tearing through everything in its path. By 1988, at only 16, Zellers was deep in the street game. People called him Techwood said, and he was moving real money. He once said he had $26,000 stashed up, big paper for a teen back then. He spent freely for his girl, living fast like he'd never slow down. But that money came with shadows. Respect wasn't requested, it was enforced. And when someone crossed him, Zellers made sure they felt it. His rep for handling business spread fast, way past Techwood's borders. 2 run-ins from that era locked in his legend, and the first involved a man known on the block as Big Bird, one rainy Atlanta night that nobody would forget.
Alpha wasn't always Alpha. Alpha was sin first. You know what I mean? 2 different people.
If you ain't know him right now, he probably robbed y'all for this camera shit and all that. Like, for real, I'm dead ass serious.
Yeah, man, that nigga shot nigga, man.
After some bad blood that never got settled, Zellers spotted Big Bird sitting in his shiny 5.0 Mustang, and that was all it took. Zellers didn't freeze, didn't think, he moved. He ran straight at him with 2 pistols, a .38 and another piece, blasting through the rain. But the ground was slick, and he slipped hard, face first into the mud. Big Bird ducked behind his hood and fired back with a .45. The sound of gunfire shook the whole block like thunder. Zellers fell back, regrouped, then stormed off to grab another gun from his cousin Lonzo. He came back ready for round 2, chasing Big Bird into an apartment building like it was a war zone. It was wild, chaotic, and loud, the kind of move that told everybody this wasn't a man scared of dying. Then came the second incident, way more personal. An OG in the neighborhood had crossed the line, disrespecting Zellers' Keisha during a drug argument. In that world, disrespect wasn't something you talked about, it was something you handled. Letting it slide meant your name had no weight anymore. So Zellers tracked him down and opened fire, 5 shots, 2 in the legs, 1 in the backside, 1 in the groin, and 1 more for good measure. According to Zealous himself, he then walked right up to the man, pressed the gun to his head, and pulled the trigger 3 times, but the weapon jammed. Fate, or maybe luck, saved that man's life.
He used to beat my mama. Like he beat my mama. He stomped my mama. He stomped my mama's teeth out. That trauma like that really f***ed me up. I was like, I got f***ed up at a young age.
Later that same night, back at his mom's house, Zealous fired that same gun into the air, and this time it worked perfectly. That's when it hit him. He really meant to take someone's life over a street insult. The early 90s turned into a cycle. Streets, jail, then streets again. Zealous caught time for dealing coke, got out, and went straight back to what he knew. But in 1995, everything flipped on his head. He got busted selling firearms to an undercover federal agent, and that changed the whole game. By then, Zealous was already a convicted felon with a robbery charge under his belt. Federal gun charges hit different. There's no early exit, no quick escape. You do at least 85% of your sentence, no questions asked. The guidelines came down heavy, 110 months, nearly 9 years. At only 23, he was staring down the loss of his entire youth. He was sent off to federal prison, and this time the weight sat on him differently. Doing time quiet wasn't enough. He wanted a real way out. According to official court records from the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, in October 1995, Zealous made his move. He agreed to cooperate. He sat down with federal agents, got debriefed, and started sharing info about major criminal activity in Atlanta. The main target? A man named Ali Bakar, who was accused of being a heavy player in the city's drug scene.
I had 26,000, man. Jewelry, the cars, the girl I was messing with, Keisha, I had got her maximum 87, maximum is an 88.
This wasn't some small-time bust. The feds needed someone with credibility, someone who had lived that life and could connect real dots, and Zealous fit that profile perfectly. He didn't just talk in the shadows. He met face-to-face with a DEA agent and a federal prosecutor, prepping for trial under his real name, Cedric Zealous. Later, the world would know him as Alfamega, the same man who stood in court as a government witness in United States versus Ali Bakar. His words carried weight. His testimony helped seal the conviction. Bakar was found guilty of conspiracy to distribute narcotics, and Zealous' statements were key evidence in that case. In the federal system, substantial assistance is the only way to shave off time, and Zealous earned it. By July 1997, Judge J. Owen Forrester signed off on a sentence reduction. Zealous got 18 months knocked off his time, dropping from 110 months to 92. A year and a half of freedom bought with cooperation, and it was all officially locked into federal court records forever.
I can't let this dude disrespect my girl, and you disrespect my name. You doing it loud in front of everybody. I go down there, and I pop him, and I pop him 5 times. You know, I popped him in both his legs, put the gun to his head, pulled the trigger 3 times, and then shit.
He served most of his time at USP Lompoc in California, far away from Atlanta, far from Techwood. Techwood said slowly faded, and in his place, a new version of him started forming. He filled notebooks, songs, scripts, even books, writing thousands of pages. He was plotting a comeback, telling himself the old life was dead and buried. By the time he walked out of federal prison in February 2002, the world had flipped completely. The internet had blown up, hip-hop had stepped into the bling era, and Southern rap wasn't fighting for respect anymore. It was running the charts. Zealous had missed it all, but he hadn't wasted time. Inside what he called gladiator school, he rebuilt himself piece by piece. He wasn't just pumping iron, he was training his mind. By his own count, he came home with over 1,700 songs, 3 screenplays, and 1 non-fiction book already in his head. Prison had taken his freedom, but handed him something rare: focus. He convinced himself he was ready for a clean slate, even though he hadn't seen daylight in 7 years. Most people think Alfamega's story after prison started right in Atlanta with T.I., but that's not how it really went down. There's a whole forgotten chapter before that. When Zealous came home, he didn't go straight to Bankhead. He went to Philadelphia. And his first real cosign didn't come from the king of the South. It came from the Broad Street bully himself, Beanie Siegel.
One time I got locked up when I called the Fed gun charge. I didn't come back home in 2002. I did 7 years, 4 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes, and 16 seconds, dog.
Alfamega ended up sitting in Beanie Siegel's mother's living room in Philly, right at the height of the Rockefeller era. That was when Beanie's word meant something. He wasn't industry slick. He was raw, real, and he could spot a fake from a mile away. Zella's rapped right there in front of Beanie, his mom, and his sister, and he didn't hold back. Beanie could feel it, the hunger, the truth, the grit of a man who'd seen real time and came back with purpose. According to Alfamega, Beanie respected that energy, the fire, the authenticity, and the fact that this 6'4" ex-con wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing redemption. Beanie Siegel didn't waste any time. He offered Zellas a deal on the spot, but what Zellas did next still got people scratching their heads. He turned it down, straight up. He looked Beanie in the eye and said, "I'm a boss like you. I just wanted you to hear me." He wasn't chasing a handout or a shortcut. He wanted respect, not rescue. To prove he meant it, he even paid Beanie for his time. That move alone said it all. That moment sent a message. Zellas wasn't another hungry rapper fresh out of prison begging for a come-up. He was different. That Philly encounter gave him a silent stamp of approval. If Beanie Siegel co-signed him, the streets had no choice but to pay attention.
I offered my first record deal 2 weeks out of prison. Beanie Siegel offered me my first record deal in his mother's living room.
By 2005, Alfamega was back home in Atlanta, and the city was boiling. Hip-hop had shifted, and sitting right at the top of the throne was T.I., turning from a street-certified hustler into a global icon. But that kind of transformation came with pressure. As T.I.'s fame exploded, he couldn't be seen moving like he used to. The image of danger that helped build his legend had to be managed carefully. He needed people around him who could keep that street energy alive while he handled the business side. And that's exactly where Alfamega came in. Their connection wasn't random either. Alfamega had known T.I.'s father, a man folks in the streets called Daddy, and also his uncle. That history built real trust. It wasn't just business, it was bloodline respect. So when Alfamega joined Grand Hustle, it wasn't some contract. It was a handshake sealed by street code. T.I. was the king, and Alfamega became the muscle behind the crown. For the next few years, he played that role flawlessly. He was the silent giant standing behind Grand Hustle's artists, intimidating, respected, and when things went left, known to act without hesitation. He brought an energy most rappers only rapped about. Real street gravity inside an industry built on image. People felt it. You could see the fear and respect in the room whenever Alfamega walked in.
I turned him down. I told him, no disrespect, I'm a boss like you. I just want to make sure you feel me. I'm going to pay you $5,000 for wasting your time. Boom. And I did it. Like, man, you liked it. You know what I'm saying? So my point's been proven. My point got proven.
That energy hit its absolute peak in 2007 with the record Hurt, featuring Alfamega, T.I., and Busta Rhymes. The track was straight violence on wax, raw talk about home invasions, payback, and burying enemies. You know what it is once I got with me, dressing back. It wasn't just a song, it was a statement. The music video shoot turned into an Atlanta street event like no other. It wasn't a movie set full of paid extras. It was packed with real figures, ex-NFL players, known hustlers, and neighborhood legends all pulled up from Alabama, Texas, and everywhere in between just to stand behind Alfamega. The air was electric, tense, and too real. But here's where the contradiction cut deep. At that exact time, T.I. was pushing a Stop Snitching campaign, preaching silence, loyalty, and the street code. Grand Hustle's whole brand revolved around that message, and standing right in the middle of it all was Alfamega, a man who years earlier had quietly reduced his federal sentence by testifying in a major case. The irony was wild. The industry bought the Grand Hustle image completely. No one had a clue about the paperwork sitting in those federal archives. To really understand the height of Alfamega's enforcer era, you gotta look at November 24th, 2008, the infamous Dirty Awards in Atlanta. By then, the tension between Grand Hustle and Shawty Lowe's D4L crew had been simmering for months, and this wasn't some rap promo beef, it was territorial. Bankhead was real soil. T.I. claimed it, but Shawty Lowe lived it. The hostility that night was thick enough to slice. When Shawty Lowe heaped the stage to perform They Know, Grand Hustle took it as a direct jab at T.I. To someone like Alfamega, that was flat-out disrespect. According to police reports and eyewitnesses, all it took was that one moment. Grand Hustle's section erupted mid-performance.
He saw the movement, you know what I'm saying? That's why he jumped off the stage while the song was going, you know, by himself, you know. And he, you know what I'm saying, made what was out. Somebody flatline was out.
Alfamega, standing in the crowd, snapped. He grabbed a chair and launched it toward the stage, and that single move set the whole room off. Fists flew, bottles shattered, and the chaos spread like wildfire. Police had to rush in, unleashing pepper spray inside the venue just to break up the brawl. The scene was total madness. One second it was music, the next it was mayhem. Eventually, T.I. took the stage to accept an award and tried to calm the storm, calling for peace, but the damage was already done. The show shut down early, the air still burning with pepper spray, and Alfamega was dragged out in handcuffs, face swollen and shirt ripped. That moment, violent, explosive, and unforgettable, became the peak and the beginning of the fall. Years later, people would look back at it as more than just a fight. It was a warning sign of the tragedy that was about to follow. Later on, Alfamega revealed that the man he was beefing with that night, Shawty Lowe, wasn't really an enemy at all. Turns out, one of Alfamega's children's mothers was Shawty Lowe's sister. They were basically family. He said the whole thing was a huge misunderstanding. Pride, ego, and a refusal to back down had turned a simple moment into chaos. He later apologized, explaining he thought Shawty Lowe was about to throw a drink on him and acted out of self-defense. But by then, it didn't matter. The image that stuck in everyone's head was that chair flying through the air. That wild moment became the defining image of his time as Grand Hustle's enforcer.
I can't afford to really be associated with that. Right. That ain't in my best interest. Right. Well, if that's the take on it, I have no choice but to separate myself, you know, just due to what's best for me and mine.
By the end of 2008, Alfamega was seen as untouchable. He was the guy who'd go all in for the team, the one who'd fight a whole crew solo if he had to. His debut album, I Am Alfamega, was already lined up for early 2009. He was finally turning his raw street legend into a real rap career, or at least that's what it looked like. Because while Alfamega was making noise in Atlanta, a journalist over at the Smoking Gun was quietly digging through old federal files in the Northern District of Georgia, and what they were about to drop was something no amount of muscle could protect him from: snitch allegations and total exile from Grand Hustle. On May 5th, 2009, the Smoking Gun uploaded a PDF that blew the industry apart. The headline read, "Rap star's protege once worked as DEA informant, government witness." Inside were official federal court documents from 1995, back when Cedric Zellers faced a possible 110-month sentence for selling guns to an undercover agent. According to those files, he had agreed to cooperate, formally debriefed about the drug activity of a man named Ali Baka. The paperwork even included the proof of that cooperation. On July 25, 1997, Judge Owen Forrester signed an order granting a government motion to reduce Zeller's sentence for substantial assistance. 18 months shaved off. His time dropped from 110 months to 92, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Just days later, T.I., the king of the South, was getting ready to report to federal prison himself for his 2007 machine gun case, a case that started because his own bodyguard wore a wire. T.I. was already trying to clean up his image, distance himself from anything that even smelled like cooperation. And now, his right-hand man, the Grand Hustle muscle, had paperwork floating around the internet.
Was it that you was feeling like so evil? Industry. Yeah. Industry is yeah. I don't give a goddamn what nobody say. They tell you something different than that.
T.I. moved fast. He called into Hot 107.9 Atlanta and went straight into damage control. He said he was shocked, completely blindsided by the news. He told listeners that everyone in Grand Hustle was expected to be upfront about their pasts and made it clear that Alfamega never disclosed any of this to him or the team. Then came the kill shot, the moment that ended it all. T.I. said, "He essentially deceived us by failing to fully disclose the truth about his past." He followed it up by saying there was no place in Grand Hustle for dishonest or misleading behavior. He wished Alfamega well financially, but shut the door completely, cold. Just like that, it was over. Alfamega was out, erased from the team, from the brand, from the kingdom he helped protect. But the fall didn't stop at business. Not long after, reports surfaced saying Alfamega had been hospitalized. Rumors flew everywhere, but he later cleared it up himself in a diss track, saying he had broken both legs. In March 2010, he dropped a record called Green Light, aimed directly at T.I. On the track, he rapped, "I broke both legs, so I had to fall back, regroup, reset, and then crawl back." He accused T.I. of abandoning him when things got rough and reminded everyone of the role he played, calling himself the muscle who protected the king. He even claimed that when T.I. was facing his own federal case, T.I. had called him in tears. Alfamega didn't stop with the music. He spoke on it in interviews, especially during his sit-down with DJ Vlad. There, he tried to rewrite the whole story. He denied being a DEA informant, pointing out that his original charge was an ATF gun case, ignoring the fact that in the federal system, those agencies work together. Then came his most controversial defense, one that people still argue about. He said, "I didn't snitch, I lied." According to Alfamega, he didn't actually know Ali Bakar personally. He claimed the authorities had fed him information, names, addresses, cars, and he just repeated what they gave him in order to get his sentence reduced. He said since he didn't personally know Bakar, he hadn't violated street code, but the streets didn't care about those details. That kind of logic doesn't survive in a culture built on simple rules. You cooperate, you're out. Period. Years later, the scandal that destroyed Alfamega's rap career feels like ancient history. But Cedric Zellers himself never disappeared. He simply pivoted. Today, you'll see him as an OG, a commentator, and a street historian, telling stories from the other side of the game. He appears on YouTube interviews, breaking down life in Techwood homes, the Red Dog era, prison politics, and the darker side of the music industry. He even opens up about his own chaos, saying he has 24 children by over 20 different mothers. He talks about the industry with raw honesty, calling it evil, a machine built to drain people through ego, addiction, and exhaustion. In recent years, Alfamega has shown a softer side too. He's used his platform to help search for a missing nephew, making emotional pleas online for anyone with information. The old enforcer image has faded, replaced by a man who's reflective, worn, but still standing strong. Even after everything, Zellers still believes he was sacrificed to protect T.I.'s image when things got hot. He says he was just a convenient casualty when the king needed to distance himself from anything that looked like cooperation. Real recognize real, he still says, holding tight to the belief that those who truly know him know his heart, no matter what the paperwork says. And that's the complicated story of Alfamega, the enforcer, the artist, the man who went from street legend to industry exile, and now stands as a voice of reflection from the other side of fame. If you made it this far, show some love. Like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment on what you think about Alfamega's rise, fall, and redemption. What's your take? Was he wrong or just misunderstood? Let's talk about it.